Japheth, the hidden son of Noah whose divine legacy fulfills God's plan for world empires. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, the earth lay quiet, wrapped in the aftermath of restoration. The floodwaters had ebbed, leaving behind the promise of a new beginning. From the ark, Noah emerged first, a solemn figure amidst the lingering scent of primal sea. His sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, followed, hearts heavy with the weight of their father's monumental legacy, a legacy stained with the sorrow of destruction yet gleaming with the hope of divine promise. Japheth, the often overlooked son, lingered in the shadows, quietly watching the world awaken. Under the sun's golden gaze, Noah turned his attention to the soil, planting a vineyard nourished by the same rains that had once drowned the earth. As the vine bore fruit, the echoes of the past danced through the air, a cacophony of remembrance. But as night fell, weariness enfolded Noah, and in his solitude, the grape's sweetness became a trap, leading him into a state of drunkenness. Within the dwelling, a moment of distress unfolded. Japheth stood silently beside Shem, observing as Ham scornfully uncovered their father's nakedness. But inspired by reverence and love, Japheth chose a different path. Instead of joining in laughter or shame, he sought a cloak, longing to shield his father's dignity. Alongside him, Shem walked with purpose, creating a veil against disgrace. In that sacred moment of compassion, a divine favor rested upon Japheth unbeknownst to him, a promise richer than the wine that had led them to this trial. When Noah awakened, his mind still clouded, he uttered words of prophecy, declaring, "Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and let Canaan be a servant." Yet entwined in his speech, the grandeur of Japheth's future emerged, as he foreseen his tent spreading across distant lands, cultures, and nations yet to be born. The divine command of, "Be fruitful and multiply," resounded, echoing through generations. Time flowed onward, and Japheth's lineage burgeoned forth like streams from a mountain. The descendants of Japheth, Greeks, Scythians, and myriad tribes unfurled gradually, weaving through history's tapestry. With every step forward, Japheth could see the shadows of disbelief inching toward his children, foreign gods beckoning from the horizon, the allure of indulgence enticing them away from their heritage. What legacy would he craft amidst these currents? Japheth's heart pulsed with deeper questions as he gazed at his sons, their eyes reflecting the unfathomable choices of distant lands. Each day bore the weight of obedience, each choice whispered between the trust in their shared journey and the temptation of spiritual desolation. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. The weight of God's promise unfurled, each generation a thread in his divine design. The nations born of Japheth would both flourish and falter, a reflection of their ancestors' faith. But what did it mean for this hidden son, the one often overlooked, to bear the mantle of such a rich legacy? Would he navigate the disarray of his descendants with the strength handed down from Noah? As he watched the horizon, the voice of the Lord resonated deep within him, urging him toward a destiny intertwined with faith. "I will make you a great nation," the echo of the covenant resonated with haunting clarity. The journey ahead was shrouded in mystery, a sacred tapestry yet unwoven awaiting Japheth's response. What unfolding miracle would connect the covenant of old through this hidden son to the tides of time, tracing blessings from father to son, across generations? The world awaited, as the divine plan whispered just beyond the veil of understanding. In the days that followed, as Japheth sought wisdom and guidance, his heart grew heavy with the responsibilities of his lineage. The land that lay before him was ripe with possibilities, yet the shadows of doubt loomed ever closer. Would his children heed the call of God, or would they be led astray into the snare of foreign idols? One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden hues across the sky, Japheth gathered his sons Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, and Meshech, inviting them into the shade of an ancient oak. "Hear me, my sons," he implored, a sense of urgency in his voice. We stand on the threshold of a great destiny. The promise of our forefather Noah rests upon us. We must cling to the ways of the Lord and not be swayed by the lure of the nations around us. The sons listened intently, their youthful faces fixed with a mixture of curiosity and concern. "But father," asked Gomer, whose heart was already drawn to the whispers of the sea, "what if the world offers treasures and wonders? Surely God desires us to thrive." Japheth's brow furrowed, a storm of sorrow gathering in his heart. "Our prosperity is found not in the treasures of this world, but in faithfulness to the God of our salvation. Remember the covenant he made, the promise that through our lineage, all nations shall be blessed. Do not be deceived, for what profit is there in gaining the whole world but forfeiting our souls?" Moved by their father's passion, the sons nodded, recognizing the weight of his words. In that sacred space, an unspoken bond formed amidst the rustling leaves, a covenant renewed among the heirs of Japheth. United in purpose, they vowed to uphold the teachings of their ancestors, to cultivate faith in the hearts of their families and resist the perils that lay beyond the horizon. Years passed, and as the sun rose and set, Japheth witnessed the blossoming of nations. The tribes stretched forth, and as they multiplied, their cities flourished. But with prosperity came trials, for the surrounding territories grew envious of their peace. Rumors of invasion slipped through the whispers of the wind, feeding fears that gnawed at the edges of Japheth's heart. One fateful night, as Japheth lay in slumber, a dream enveloped him. The heavens split open, and constellations shimmered like sacred promises. A mighty voice echoed through the expanse, "Japheth, listen. The day of reckoning approaches. The hearts of your descendants will be tested as fire refines gold. A great leader shall arise from you, a deliverer who shall lead the faithful against the currents of the world." Awakening with the dawn, Japheth's spirit burned with divine clarity. "A deliverer," he whispered, the promise igniting a fervor deeper than before. He gathered his sons once more, his eyes alight with conviction. "The Lord has spoken to me. A deliverer will rise from among us to protect our legacy. We shall not falter in our duty, we will strengthen our families and prepare them for the battles to come." Gomer and his brothers exchanged apprehensive glances, yet hope stirred within them. "Who is this leader, father?" asked Magog, eager yet anxious. "Will it be one of us?" Japheth gazed into the distance, the path of fate unfurling before him like a scroll yet unsealed. "The Father knows whom he chooses, and his ways are perfect. We must remain steadfast in faith, for the deliverer's identity will be revealed in due time." Thus, the tale of Japheth and his sons unfolded, echoing through the ages. With hearts unified and spirits resolute, they stood ready, prepared to face the shadowy threats looming on the horizon. As the sun set one day, casting a vibrant glow over their land, a stirring in the air whispered of the wonders to come. The earth held its breath, awaiting the magnificent unveiling of God's pleroma, the fulfillment of the covenant, a revelation that would shake the foundations of history and unveil his sovereign plan. Would they be ready to embrace the deliverer when he would come? Time alone would guide their hearts along the weave of destiny. As seasons turned and the land bore witness to the unfolding of time, Japheth's household flourished as a beacon amid the shadows that sought to overtake it. Yet, in the midst of harvest and joy, an unsettling whisper crept upon the hearts of the people. The nations beyond their borders stirred, their ambitions ignited by envy and the allure of conquest. Japheth, fully aware of these tensions, would rise before dawn each day, offering prayers to the God of his fathers, imploring wisdom and strength. His heart was like a well, deep with the knowledge of history and burdened with the future of his sons. "O Lord," he would cry, "may the spirit of courage dwell within us, that we might not shake before the storms of rival kingdoms." One evening, as night blanketed the land, Japheth convened his sons once more. "The time approaches," he said solemnly. "The sign is upon us, and we must be vigilant. Darkness seeks to encroach upon our covenant, but remember the promise, the faithful shall not be forsaken." Gomer, still captivated by the catch of the sea, broke the solemnity of the moment. "But father, when will we see this deliverer? Must we wait in silence while the world encircles us? The tides pull at my heart, calling me to venture beyond the horizon. The air thickened with tension, and Japheth's brow deepened as he replied, "Do not allow the call of the sea to drown the voice of God, Gomer. Our strength lies not in our own endeavors, but in the faith we place in Him. He it is who shall raise the one destined to guide us." With these words echoing in the twilight, a sudden ruckus erupted outside their dwelling. The sounds of distant drums reverberated through the night air, awakening a primal fear within the hearts of the sons of Japheth. They rushed outside, drawn by the clamor, to witness a delegation of warriors clothed in dark armor, their presence a portent of imminent strife. "Men of valor," cried their leader, a figure looming, tall as an oak, his voice thunderous. "We come from the land of Mesopotamia, seeking tribute from those who settle upon these lands. Bow before us, or face the wrath of destruction." Japheth stepped forward, his resolve unyielding, heart fortified by centuries of faith. "We are children of Noah, the cursed and blessed. We shall not bow to the threats of the mighty, for our God is with us." His proclamation rang through the night, alive with the echoes of man's ancient covenant with the Creator. The strange warrior paused, caught by the weight of Japheth's words. "Your defiance will yield great stakes, old man. But I sense a tale unspoken, a power that stirs within you. Speak, Japheth, do you have a vision of a deliverer that may shake the foundations of this world?" In that instant, as anticipation crackled in the air, Japheth's heart quickened, for within that moment lay the divine spark of hope. "A deliverer shall rise from among us, a leader born of my lineage who shall rise against tyranny and deliver the faithful into the light." The dark warrior's eyes flickered with a mix of intrigue and disbelief, yet an indiscernible shift settled upon the gathering. There, in that charged silence, the sons of Japheth huddled together, feeling the urgent weight of their father's words. A growing understanding blossomed between them. They stood shoulder to shoulder, encased in a divine promise that stretched into the fabric of their very being. Yet, the night wore on, and the taut strings of destiny trembled on the brink of an unknowing culmination. With each passing heartbeat, the questions mounted, lingering upon the lips of Japheth's sons: who would ascend from their lineage to fulfill this mighty promise? What trials awaited them? And would their faith stand firm against the storm? As the stars twinkled overhead, the world turned anew, edging closer to the dawn that would reveal what lay hidden in the hearts of men. Would they be prepared to grasp the deliverer when he would come, shattering the chains of oppression? Time alone would shed the light upon God's vast and sovereign plan. In the days that followed the encounter beneath the vast expanse of the night sky, Japheth and his sons remained steadfast in prayer, gathering together under the watchful stars. They fell to their knees, imploring the Lord for strength and guidance as shadows loomed ever closer, darkened by envy and ambition. "Father," said Javan, the youngest among the sons, his voice a whisper amidst the growing tension, "what shall we do when the time of trial comes upon us? How shall we know the deliverer you speak of? Will the heavens not declare his coming?" Japheth's gaze turned to the heavens, where the constellations shone with a light unquenchable. "The signs shall manifest, my son. Even as the prophets have foretold, the heavens proclaim his glory. The stars bear witness to his arrival, and the earth shall tremble at the name above all names. Remain watchful." Each day passed with a sense of foreboding, and the warriors from Mesopotamia lingered at their borders, a shadow darkening their fields of plenty. With every dawn, Japheth would venture out to the edge of his land, surely seeking the countenance of his God, and returning to his household reinvigorated by the spirit of hope. On one fateful afternoon, as the sun dipped over the horizon like the last gasp of a wounded day, a messenger arrived, breathless and trembling, eyes wide with despair. "Japheth, your lands are surrounded. The armies of Mesopotamia approach, emboldened by their numbers. Their swords are drawn, and their hearts are set on conquest." A hush fell over the gathering as Japheth stood, unwavering beneath the burden of his role. "Let not fear seize your hearts," he declared, his voice a mountain against the gale. "Our refuge is in the Lord, and he shall not abandon his covenant. Gather your families and your flocks, for this day we must unite in faith against that which seeks to oppress us." In the gathering dusk, the people rallied, fueled by the courage ignited within them by Japheth's words. The mothers clutched their children tightly, and the fathers locked arms, forming a wall of strength against the approaching tide. Japheth stood at the forefront, a living testament of faith, as he prayed fervently for divine intervention. As night descended with an impenetrable cloak, the distant clang of arms echoed ominously, heralding the advance of the enemy. When the first screams pierced the silence, Japheth raised his voice to the heavens. O Lord, Almighty! You have promised deliverance. Show forth your might this day, let your will be done. A tempest rose from seemingly nowhere, winds howling like the cries of 1,000 souls. The stars dimmed as dark clouds gathered above, reminiscent of the days when the waters had risen and the earth was cleansed. At that moment, a mighty flash of lightning illuminated the gathering, revealing the fierce determination etched upon the faces of Japheth's sons. They exchanged glances, burning with a resolve that transcended fear. They were, indeed, their father's sons. As the enemy's warriors advanced, bewildered by the sudden storm, Japheth spurred his sons to stand firm. Now is the test, my sons. Uphold the truth of our covenant and let not doubt enter your hearts. The winds howled louder, and crashing thunder intertwined with the battle cries. With each roar of heaven, the hearts of Japheth's people surged as they recognized the sovereign power at work among them. Little did they know, within that sublime storm lay a divine orchestration to echo through ages, a testament to the deliverer yet to come, whose reign would surpass every empire and crush the chains of tyranny forevermore. And as the dawn's light began to pierce the darkness, signaling a new beginning, a whisper rippled through the air, behold, the promise draws near. As dawn's gentle light broke upon the horizon, the darkness receded, swallowed by the brilliance of a new day. The storm, as sudden as it had arisen, dissipated into a calmness that enveloped the land like a shroud of peace. The hearts of Japheth and his sons trembled with an awe that overshadowed their earlier fear. The power of the Most High had surely been at work. Look! The clouds part. Japheth, Japheth's eldest son, shouted, raising his hands to the sky. All eyes turned towards the heavens, where a brilliant light pierced the remnants of the storm, cascading rays of golden brilliance upon the people assembled. They gasped in unison, hope blooming anew within their hearts. Japheth gathered his sons close. The Lord has fought for us this day. Let us not forget the mighty hand of our God. In our weakness, He is made strong, in our fear, He is our fortress. Yet even as they celebrated, clouds lingered at the edges of their fervent joy. The screams of battle had faded, but from the earth carried the distant echoes of the enemy's retreat. But, Father, Javan said, noting the trembling earth beneath his feet, can we not be sure the storm over our hearts is truly quelled? What if they regroup? What if they return? Japheth placed a steady hand on Javan's shoulder, comforting the young boy with a father's strength. Fear not, my son. The Lord who delivered us from their grasp will continue to shield us. Remember His promises. He will crush the enemy beneath our feet. As if in response to his declaration, a figure emerged from the retreating shadows, an envoy from the armies of Mesopotamia. Clad in tattered armor, the messenger fell to his knees before Japheth, his eyes wide with fear and respect. You have been favored by the gods, there is no denying it. We come seeking peace, for our soldiers tremble at the might displayed by your hand. Japheth eyed the man, knowing full well the fight that might yet come. What price do you seek for peace? He inquired, bold in his approach. The envoy swallowed hard. Let us leave this place and all you possess untouched. We shall not harm your land or your people, provided you declare peace and render allegiance to our kingdom. The hearts of Japheth's sons grew heavy at the words, uncertainty painting shadows across their resolve. Javan stepped forward, his youthful spirit ignited with righteousness. How can we surrender to tyranny? Are we to forsake the covenant of our God in exchange for a fleeting peace? Javan has spoken in wisdom, Japheth said firmly, shifting his stance. We shall not barter our freedom nor place our trust in the hands of men who seek to bind us. The envoy recoiled, sensing the fierce energy coursing through Japheth's household. So you choose conflict. We shall return with greater force then, and you will know despair, he spat, filled with the bitter taste of revenge before retreating into the distance, with the enemy's shadows faintly dissipating, Japheth turned to his sons, his voice steady. "Prepare yourselves. The battle is not over. We must stand and hold fast to our faith, for even now, the Lord lays the foundation for his enduring promise." As they rallied together, voices intertwined in fervent prayer, the earth trembled beneath them once more, not in wrath, but as a herald of divine purpose. The ground seemed to speak of ages yet to come and of a plan that would extend beyond their understanding. Suddenly, the skies above darkened again, not with tempest, but with a vision, a cloud descending, forming an arch of glory before them. "Look!" Javan cried. "What does this mean?" Japheth reverently directed his gaze upward, listening closely as the whispers of God's sovereign plan flowed through him. "The promise is imminent, my sons. For what we have waged is but a shadow of the strife to come, a precursor to the deliverer who will arise and herald God's eternal reign over mankind." With hearts alight in the presence of the divine, Japheth and his sons grasped the truth that their lives would play a pivotal role in the unfolding saga of destiny, a tale that would weave through the generations, compelling all to await the deliverance yet to be revealed. As twilight began to cloak the land in hues of purple and gold, Japheth sat with his sons, pondering the weight of their recent encounter. The glow of firelight flickered upon their faces, casting long shadows that danced upon the ground, shadows of both uncertainty and hope. The air felt charged with divine anticipation, echoing the promise that had been spoken only moments before. "Father," Japheth spoke, a deep furrow etching his brow. "What shall we do now? The battle may yet come upon us like a thief in the night. How do we prepare our hearts and our hands for the trial ahead?" Japheth raised his hand to silence his sons, the authority of a patriarch weaving a tapestry of unity around them. "We shall seek the Lord together, for in him our strength lies. He has called us to stand firm, not in our might, but in the revelation of his power," he declared, his voice steady with faith. Thus, they gathered, a family bound not only by blood but by the very promise of God. They knelt upon the earth, their faces turned to heaven, invoking the sacred name of the Lord. "O God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we beseech you," Japheth cried, "grant us wisdom and courage for the days to come. Fill our hearts with steadfastness and our minds with clarity, that we may recognize your guidance in the storm." As their prayers ascended, a wind arose, gentle yet unwavering, whispering against their skin as if the very breath of God was amongst them. In that sacred moment, the hush of the wilderness enveloped them, and the presence of the Almighty filled the air, a sweetness mingling with tension, signaling the divine orchestration of events yet to unfold. Yet soon, a vision pierced the stillness of their hearts, a single mighty tree, whose roots reached deep into the earth, intertwining with rivers of blessing, while its branches stretched forth to embrace the heavens. "Do you see it, my sons?" Japheth affirmed, his voice hushed with awe. "This tree represents the promise of generations, the legacy that will arise from our obedience." Javan, still youthful in spirit, raised his eyes, sparked by understanding. "But what does the tree bear, Father? What fruit shall we gather from its branches?" Japheth felt a stirring, as if the wind spoke of ancestral hope. "This tree bears the fruit of deliverance. From it shall arise a lineage that will one day encompass all nations. The one who is to come, the deliverer whom we long for, shall be of our bloodline, the faithful branch of Judah." The night deepened around them, and the stars adorned the sky, a celestial reminder of God's promises. Yet darkness loomed at the edge of their understanding, where the shadow of the enemy hovered. Japheth rose to his feet, resolved. "Let us prepare our hearts and our homes. For the Lord, our God, is a mighty warrior, he goes before us and will not abandon us, even amidst the turmoil." But as they began to move, a sound echoed in the distance, a rumble, foreboding, heralding the return of the Mesopotamian forces. It carried with it a sinister promise of conflict. "They come!" exclaimed Japheth, his voice strained. "What then shall we do?" "Remain steadfast," Japheth commanded, the fire in his heart igniting within him once more. "We shall not fear the storm of war, for behold, there is a greater purpose at work. The Lord shapes history and draws the lines of empire, and through our faithfulness, we shall be part of his unfolding plan. As the ground shook beneath their feet, a sign of both impending strife and God's power, Japheth turned his gaze towards the heavens. For it is in this struggle that we shall witness his triumph. The promise of our lineage shall not falter, it shall stand steadfast, rooted in the covenant we uphold. And so, they prepared, not just for battle, but for the revelation of God's sovereign plan, a tapestry woven through conflict and peace, shaping destinies beyond their own. Outside their ken, the world awaited, and within their faith, the assurance of a deliverer lingered, an imminent shadow of glory destined to break forth into the light. Yet what they did not yet know was that this was merely the beginning, the prologue to God's grand narrative that would unveil the true story of salvation. The time was coming for a confrontation they could not yet fathom, one that would echo throughout the ages. Stay watchful, my sons, Japheth urged, for the unfolding of his purpose is near, and with it comes the promise of our inheritance. As the ground trembled beneath their feet, a pall of inevitability settled over Japheth and his sons. They stood resolute, their breaths mingling with the crisp night air, each heart pounding with trepidation yet fueled by faith. The distant rumble grew closer, a foreshadowing of the storm that loomed both in the earthly realm and in the spirit. Prepare the men, Japheth commanded with gravitas. Let us gather our strength, not only in arms but in prayer. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world. Each son nodded, the weight of their lineage settling upon them. Wide-eyed, Javan grasped his father's arm. But father, what if the darkness overcomes us? How will we fulfill the promise you spoke of, the fruit that the great tree bears? His voice trembled, an echo of youthful hope fearfully challenged by impending conflict. Japheth knelt down, settling his gaze upon his son. Fear not, my child, remember the words of the Lord through the prophet Isaiah, no weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, Isaiah 54 verse 17. We are but vessels, and it is through our obedience that the Master will work his will. With those words weaving a protective tapestry around them, they began to gather what few provisions and arms were available. As the men readied themselves, the fire crackled, throwing shadows that whispered of battles fought and victories yet to come. The night wore on, and other families came to join them, drawn by the stirrings of faith that shimmered amidst the encroaching dread. An elder approached, his voice quaking yet steadfast. Japheth, we have heard of your resolve. We stand with you. Together we will face the forces that threaten our homes. A spirit of unity surged among them, a palpable reminder of God's promise to Noah after the flood, that the earth would never again be destroyed by waters, Genesis 9 verse 15. With each flickering flame, they felt the relentless pulse of divine purpose. As dawn's light began to creep over the horizon, they gathered in a circle, lifting their hands and voices in worship. O Lord our God, you are our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble, Psalm 46 verse 1. Whether by many or by few, we trust in your deliverance. Equip us for the day of battle. Their cries rose like incense into the heavens. Suddenly, the earth quaked with a violent clap of thunder as the first rays of light broke forth, a dawn laden with both hope and dread. And just then, as if propelled by the very breath of the Almighty, a figure appeared on the ridge. Clad in gleaming armor, his countenance radiated authority. Fear not, for I am sent to counsel you. Prepare yourselves, for the Lord has heard your cry, and today, the Lord of hosts shall fight for you. Japheth stared, his heart aflame with wonder. Who are you? I am the messenger of the covenant, the figure declared, the one who walks before you. The time has come for a reckoning, for from this trial will emerge a testimony that shall be passed down through generations. Your lineage shall not merely survive, it shall bear witness to the very promise of God himself. With those words echoing against the stones and sky, the men felt an assurance wash over them, as if the very air pulsed with the presence of divine favor. They steeled their hearts for what lay ahead, knowing that their struggle was part of a grand narrative that extended beyond the horizon of their understanding, and thus, with spirits ignited and eyes fixed on the heavens, they prepared to stand firm. For within that hour, beneath the weight of impending conflict, the mystery of God's sovereign plan began to blossom, a revelation yet to be unveiled, a promise that transcended their immediate battle, intertwining their fate with the very fabric of the ages to come. Little did they know, as the clamor of battle loomed, the unfolding of God's purpose was but on the brink, a crescendo poised to echo through the corridors of time, heralding a hope that none could yet grasp. As the first light of dawn illuminated the valley, a hush fell over the assembly. Japheth, with his stalwart heart, raised his hands to the heavens. "Brothers and fathers, remember our forefather Noah, who weathered the deluge with faith in God as promise. Today, we shall uphold that faith as our shield. Let us not forget the words of the Almighty, when the enemy comes in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord will raise up a standard against him." Isaiah 59 verse 19. One by one, the men echoed their agreement, their voices rising like the sweet sound of redeemed lives. The fervor in their hearts rekindled as they fastened their swords and secured their armor, each man knowing that he stood not alone but with the weight of their father's legacy upon him. From the ridge, the messenger of the covenant regarded them solemnly. "The Lord has ordained this day, whereupon you shall not merely battle flesh but wrestle against the powers of darkness. Remember, your strength lies not in numbers but in your unwavering faith." Japheth turned to his sons, his voice rising with strength. "Gather your courage, Javan and Gad, for the promises of the Lord stand firm. Deliverance comes to those who trust in him. As it is written, the Lord will fight for you, and you shall hold your peace." Exodus 14 verse 14. Just as the words left his mouth, the ground beneath them trembled once more. Dark clouds began to swirl ominously above, heralding the approach of the enemy. Jephthah's heart quickened, but his resolve did not waver. The messenger stepped forward, his voice cutting through the air like thunder. "Behold, the adversary gathers, yet you are fortified by his grace. Each of your family's faith stands as a bulwark against despair. Stand firm, the Lord God of Israel will bring forth his judgment today." Upon hearing this, the families clutched the hands of their loved ones, prayers erupting in whispers, hearts unified in a chorus of belief. As they prepared for battle, the land became a tapestry of fervent supplication woven into the fabric of desperate yet hopeful hearts. The sun struggled to pierce the encroaching shadows, each beam battling against the weight of the gathering storm. Now at the edge of battle, Jephthah raised his voice, commanding, "Brothers, today we push back against the darkness, fortified by the promise that we are not alone. Our God goes before us. Prepare your hearts. And may your faith be steadfast." As the clouds roared and thunder cracked, the sound could be likened to the very cries of heaven resounding through the earth. The sky darkened as the enemy emerged from their fortified positions, their numbers vast and menacing. A chilling cry surged through the air as foes converged like wolves encircling unsuspecting prey. "Now, let the warriors of the Lord arise," Japheth declared, brandishing his sword high, an emblem of faith against fear. "For we do not fight for mere survival, we fight to uphold the covenant entrusted to us." With the air thickening with the anticipation of clash, the messenger of the covenant stood as a beacon, radiant and uncompromising. "Fear not the numbers of the adversary, for today shall be a day of miracles. Unseen forces rally to support you, and your victory has been assured before the dawn appeared." Just then, the earth seemed to quake in response to the warriors' fervor. As they charged forth with shouts of victory, heaven bore witness to their struggle. The clash of swords rang through the valley as the first blows were struck, yet in the midst of the turmoil, a whisper stirred amongst Jephthah's sons. "What lies beyond this battle? Will the promises of God truly unfold through our sacrifice?" They questioned, hearts heavy yet yearning for understanding. The messenger's eyes blazed, and in that moment, the atmosphere changed, charged with expectation. "Each wave of your faith shall ripple through time. The outcome of this battle extends beyond the immediate threat, it is a catalyst igniting the legacy you bear. Know this, God's sovereign plan is ever unfolding, and the depths of his promises stretch far beyond." This day, as the tides of war ebbed and flowed, the legacy forged in faith was but a whisper of the victories to come. Little did they know, a greater reckoning awaited on the horizon, a testament not only to their faith but woven into the very fabric of nations yet to rise, the unfolding saga of God's promise surging silently beneath the storm. As the clash of swords echoed like thunder rolling across the valley, Japheth and his men pressed forward, emboldened by the sound of their own faith. The enemy, a multitude arrayed in shadow and malice, met them with fierce cries, yet the true battle was waged in the spiritual realms above, where angels gathered in anticipation of an unfolding miracle. "Gather your strength," Japheth shouted, feeling the unshakable presence of the Lord surrounding them. "For today we are not merely fight, we are fulfilling the very purpose of our existence." His words ascended like a prayer, reaching the heavens where the Almighty reigns. The warriors surged forth, courage ignited by the promises passed down through their lineage. They swung their swords with holy resolve, each strike not merely against flesh, but a declaration of faith proclaiming the victory that God had already ordained. From the ridge, the messenger of the covenant observed intently. "Behold, the faith of this assembly breaks through the darkness. For it is written, the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands." 1 Samuel 17 verse 47. As they stand, a testament of faith shall shine brighter than the darkness that surrounds them. Among the enemy ranks, confusion swept like a tempest as the courage of Japheth's men burned untamed. Yet, even amidst chaos, a dark figure with eyes like embers watched from the rear, a sorcerer steeped in malevolence, calling forth forces that thrummed with power. Under his breath, he murmured incantations, seeking to eclipse the light of faith with shadows of fear. Suddenly, Japheth felt a surge of the Spirit wash over him, igniting his thoughts. "O Lord, grant us vision beyond the veil," he prayed silently, as the intensity of battle erupted around him. At that moment, clarity struck like lightning. He turned towards his sons, their faces resolute yet strained. "Javan, Gad, strike not only for your life's sake, but also for the heritage of faith that binds us. Our God goes before us." As they fought, the ground trembled with the weight of their convictions, a divine resonance coursing through the earth. With every clash, each man felt the pulse of history, the promises of God reverberating through time, the legacy of righteousness stirring the souls of nations yet unborn. And then, as if in answer to Japheth's unyielding faith, a beam of light pierced the thick clouds, illuminating the battlefield. The messenger stepped forth, his presence an overwhelming force. "Fear not," he declared, his voice echoing like a trumpet across the fray. "This day, the Lord makes a distinction between his people and their enemies." At once, a great wind swept through the valley, carrying with it a harvest of divine might. The enemies faltered, their hearts quaking as if touched by a presence unseen. Japheth saw the embers of fear alighting in their ranks. With renewed strength, he raised his sword high. "We push back the darkness, for our trust is in the living God." Buoyed by their leader's proclamation, the men surged forward, a tidal wave of faith and courage. The enemy, once menacing, began to break ranks, retreating in confusion and despair. Whispers of doubt slipped among their ranks like a serpent, sowing distrust and panic. "Hold firm," Japheth called, even as his heart raced with the hope of triumph. Behind them, the valley trembled with the weight of their faith battles, and the very heavens seemed to weep joyfully. In the distance, the sorcerer raised his arms in futility, his dark magic faltering before the might of God's faithful. "This day," he screeched, but his voice was drowned out by the chorus of praises rising from Japheth's men, their faith resonating louder than swords and shadows combined. Yet unbeknownst to them, birthed in this moment of victory was a pivotal turn in history, one that reflected the deep and unfathomable plans of the Almighty. What would this battle mean for generations to come? What legacy would be etched into the annals of time through their victory? And with that uncertainty, the sun broke through the storm clouds, casting shafts of golden light upon the battlefield as the horizon whispered of greater battles yet to come in the divine tapestry that the Lord was weaving. For even as the victory was near, a profound mystery lingered in the air, a silent beckoning toward a sovereign plan only God could fulfill. As the dust of battle settled and the sun burst triumphantly through the remnants of the storm clouds, a hush descended upon the land. The warriors of Japheth stood in awe, breaths heavy with the weight of significance. Victory was theirs, the adversary had scattered like shadows at dawn, losing heart where once they roared. Yet, in that silence, Japheth felt the stirring of something greater, a divine thread woven through this very moment. Look upon the victory granted us. Japheth proclaimed, raising his sword high, the glint of light kissing the blade as the warriors around him began to cheer. Our faith has carried us through the darkest night to the dawn of God's promise fulfilled. Today, we have witnessed that the battle is not ours alone, the Lord of hosts fights for us. The echoes of his voice slid over the warriors, instilling within them a resolute understanding of their place in the tapestry of God's unfolding story. Japheth, having watched his sons stand firm amidst the tumult, felt a swell of pride in his heart. He stepped forward, addressing his children. Now, my sons, we shall not bask in victory alone, we must remember the covenant, the promise that binds us. Let us honor our covenant with God, who has proven himself to us today. Gomer, still trembling with excitement but with wisdom maturing in his eyes, looked to his father. Our hands bore the weight of our swords for our land, but what of our souls? What do we carry from this day forth? Japheth placed a steady hand upon Gomer's shoulder. With every trial faced and each victory gained, remember that our God calls us to be not just warriors of flesh but warriors of faith. His Spirit has led us, and now our task is to guide our families, uphold righteousness, and cultivate the legacy of our lineage so that we may become a beacon of light in the world. The sons nodded, the reality of their mission settling into their hearts. They understood that their victory was not merely for themselves, it was part of a promise stretching back to their forefather Noah and reaching forward to ages yet unseen. As the fading sun cast gentle hues of orange and gold, the messenger of the covenant stepped forth, illuminating the gathering once more with his radiant presence. Today, you have not only triumphed in battle but have also carved a chapter in the grand narrative of redemption. The deliverer, the one promised to arise from Japheth's lineage, awaits. Every trial served as a preparation, each victory a testament to the faith that shall lead to the salvation of many. Japheth's heart surged with understanding, each beat resonating with the eternal truth. And this deliverer, he shall walk among us with righteousness, Japheth proclaimed, for from our lineage shall come a blessing for all nations. We shall nurture faith in our children and set them upon the path of truth. With that, the crowd began to chant, lifeblood surging through them as they reaffirmed their commitment to the Lord in unity. They pledged to uphold the covenant, to be mindful of the trials that awaited them, and to remain steadfast amid the coming shadows, and just then, as if woven into the fabric of their hearts, a brilliant light burst forth from the skies, showering the gathered people with warmth and serenity. Fear not, the messenger said, for your future is secure in his hands. The promise is true. In that sacred moment, as hearts entwined in shared conviction, they embraced the weight of their calling, the fruit from the great tree that Japheth had envisioned. From that day forward, they would walk in the light of the covenant, bearing witness to God's unwavering faithfulness. As night began to blanket the land, stars twinkled in the heavens, each one a reminder of the promises made and the destinies waiting to be fulfilled. Japheth gathered his sons close, their family a shield against the looming night. Let us pray, he said, and fill our hearts with the knowledge that God will always watch over us. For it is written, the Lord is near to those who have a broken heart and saves the crushed in spirit. Psalm 34 verse 18. Our trials serve as a forge, where we become instruments of his peace and vessels for his truth. United in prayer, they offered their gratitude to the Lord, their voices rising as a beacon of hope. The future lay before them like an open field, wild and uncharted, yet filled with the promise of God's hand guiding each step. This marked the end of one chapter and the onset of another, a narrative filled with possibilities, trials, and triumphs yet to be discovered. The legacy of Japheth would stretch far beyond his own flesh and blood, intertwining with the hearts of all who dared to trust in the Almighty. As you stand in your own journey, may you remember that God's promises extend into our lives. In your trials, stand firm like Japheth and his sons, for the tapestry of the ages is being woven, and you are part of it. Now, dear friends, I urge you, subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss another powerful biblical story that can transform your faith and understanding. Leave a like now to help spread God's word, let it echo through the algorithm, reaching souls that need to hear the truth. Comment below your reflections and insights on how this story has blessed your walk with Christ. And don't wait even one more second to share this message with at least 5 friends who need to know the transformative power of God's covenant love. Together, let us reach more for His glory and fulfill the mission He has placed upon our hearts.